In the vast expanse of the Xylo galaxy, the ruthless Krental Empire reigned supreme. Its monarch, King Zelvor, was as cunning as he was cruel, leading a species that valued strength above all. They had subdued countless worlds, each conquest a stepping stone in their quest for galactic dominance. But one fateful mission led to an unexpected twist. Queen Vale-Thara, the radiant and fiercely intelligent consort of King Zelvor, found herself in peril. During an expedition to the uncharted Edros sector, her royal fleet was ambushed by rogue factions, mercenaries who saw an opportunity to weaken the empire by capturing its queen. Their plan worked. The queen's ship was torn apart in a ferocious battle, forcing her escape pod to crash land on a desolate and primitive planet known to its inhabitants as Earth. Chapter 1. A Meeting of Worlds. Connor Hayes was not what anyone would call extraordinary. A retired firefighter living in a remote corner of Montana, he spent his days fishing, hunting, and occasionally repairing the battered pickup trucks of the few neighbors who lived nearby. On a chilly winter evening, Connor was startled by a deafening crash in the forest behind his cabin. Grabbing his rifle and flashlight, he trudged through the snow, only to find a scene that seemed torn straight from a science fiction novel. A smoking pod lay embedded in the frozen ground, its metallic surface glowing faintly with a bluish hue. As he approached, the pod hissed open, releasing steam and revealing a figure that made him question his sanity. Queen Vale-Thara emerged, her tall, elegant frame shimmering in her biosuit. Her skin glowed faintly silver, her eyes a striking shade of violet, and a crown of tendrils adorned her head. Though injured, her regal presence was undeniable. Connor lowered his rifle, his instincts as a firefighter kicking in. "You're hurt," he said, more to himself than to her. The Queen's universal translator activated, her voice melodic yet commanding. "Primitive, assist me." Though her tone wasn't exactly warm, Connor could see the pain in her movements. Without hesitation, he helped her out of the pod and carried her back to his cabin, unaware of the consequences this encounter would bring. Chapter 2. Bonds Beyond Species. Over the next few days, Connor tended to Vale-Thara's wounds. Using a mix of his limited medical knowledge and her guidance, he managed to stabilize her condition. Vale-Thara, initially disdainful of her rescuer's primitive ways, couldn't help but admire his determination and resourcefulness. Despite lacking advanced technology, he had a resilience she found fascinating. Connor, for his part, was equally intrigued. Vale-Thara's stories of intergalactic empires and advanced civilizations were beyond anything he could have imagined. Yet beneath her regal demeanor, he sensed a vulnerability, a being far from home and thrust into survival mode. One evening, as they sat by the fire, Vale-Thara looked at Connor. "You risked your life for me. Why?" Connor shrugged. "Didn't seem right to leave someone hurt out there. Doesn't matter where you're from. Helping's what we do." Her violet eyes softened. "A curious philosophy. One your kind will need to survive in the stars." Chapter 3. The King's Fury. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, King Zelvor was livid. The Queen's fleet had been lost, and his scouts had traced her pod's trajectory to an insignificant backwater planet. "How could my queen be at the mercy of primitives?" Zelvor roared in the Imperial Hall, his voice shaking the crystalline walls. He deployed an elite extraction team, warning them of the dire consequences should they fail. The Krental would leave no trace of their queen's capture, nor any witnesses who might exploit her vulnerability. Chapter 4. A Stand Against the Stars. Connor and Vale-Thara had little time to prepare when the extraction team arrived. The alien soldiers were brutal and efficient, their advanced weaponry far beyond anything Earth had to offer. But Connor was no stranger to danger. Using his intimate knowledge of the terrain and a mix of guerrilla tactics, he turned the forest into a battlefield. With Vale-Thara's guidance and her remaining technology, they set traps and outmaneuvered the soldiers. Vale-Thara herself was impressed by Connor's ingenuity. "Your species is more formidable than I anticipated," she admitted, firing a pulse weapon alongside him. Connor grinned despite the chaos. "We're stubborn, that's for sure." Chapter 5. The King Arrives. When King Zelvor himself descended upon Earth, expecting to find his queen cowering, he was met with a sight that left him in utter disbelief. Velthara stood tall beside Connor, her biosuit torn, but her spirit unbroken. Connor, covered in soot and dirt, held a makeshift weapon crafted from alien scraps and human ingenuity. "You dare align yourself with this, primitive?" Zelvor bellowed, his voice laced with both fury and confusion. Velthara stepped forward, her tone icy. "This primitive saved my life when your light soldiers failed me. He fought for me when you were absent. If anyone here deserves my loyalty, it is him." The king's tendrils quivered in shock. "You cannot be serious." Connor smirked, leaning on his makeshift weapon. "Looks like royalty isn't all it's cracked up to be, huh?" Chapter 6, a new chapter. Though Selvor begrudgingly retrieved his queen, the encounter left an indelible mark on the Krental Empire. Velthara's respect for humanity, a species deemed insignificant, grew immensely. Back on Earth, Connor returned to his quiet life, though he often glanced at the stars, wondering if he'd ever see his otherworldly companion again. Little did he know, Queen Velthara had not forgotten him. In the years to come, as humanity reached for the stars, they would find an unexpected ally in the Krental Queen, who whispered tales of a primitive human who defied the odds and changed her destiny. Epilogue. King Zelvor, though initially enraged, eventually recognized the potential of humanity. After all, if one human could challenge an empire, what might an alliance achieve? And so, the galaxy shifted, one daring act at a time, as the legacy of a humble firefighter and an alien queen echoed across the stars.